Thank you for coming to see our presentation of ObituaryHub today. This is a Ruby on Rails application. It was built by 4 students in Mod 3 of the backend program at Turing School of Software and Design. Myself, Stella Bonney, Jack Cullen, Eric Larson, and Sage Lee. We all had a shared experience of watching our parents and grandparents read the obituary section of the newspaper. It was not seen as morbid or depressing. They were merely sharing community news. They would make plans to send condolences and attend funerals when they came across familiar names in the next of kin. We, on the other hand, discover that friends and loved ones have died via Facebook and other social media. It is not only traumatic to discover a friend has died while scrolling through ads, memes, and political posts, but we believe it isn't an adequately respectful environment to publish obituaries and share condolences and memories. We built ObituaryHub because these heartfelt expressions of love and grief deserve a better ecosystem. ObituaryHub is a place where you can find, read, and share obituaries. It was built with you and your loved ones in mind. Here you can read excerpts from New York Times famed obituary section, add new obituaries to our database, search for obituaries across both platforms, and share obituaries published on the site with others via email. We have also created a special section for COVID-19 obituaries, which features obituaries from our community and the New York Times. The number of people dying from COVID-19 is overwhelming, and we wanted to spotlight the stories of some of the victims in order to remind ourselves and others that these aren't just numbers on a chart, but to make it more personal. These are people with stories and families just like us.
This is our site, ObituaryHub. It's an obituary hosting site that we created to celebrate and honor the lives of those we have lost. ObituaryHub allows users to create their own obituaries, and we also consumed the New York Times API to host additional obituaries. We split the obituaries up into different categories. In community obituaries, we have the obituaries posted by our users. If you click on the View Obituaries, you'll be taken to an obituary show page where you can read the obituaries for given people. We also have the COVID-19 obituaries. We toggled the results between the New York Times API and the obituaries that our users created. If you click on the link in the New York Times obituaries, you'll be taken to the New York Times site where you can read the actual obituary. We have recently published obituaries. Finally, you can search for obituaries by name and use our advanced search options where you can search for obituaries by name, location, age, and year. Visitors to the site can sign up for an account using Google or Facebook. If they do not have access to a Google or Facebook account, they can create an account using our database. Once logged in, they'll be taken to their dashboard page where they can add their own obituaries. Once created, an obituary will be hosted on our site for visitors and users to see. A user has the ability to edit or delete their own obituaries. They can also share other obituaries with others via email.
Okay, and here's a look at our tech stack. So on the back end, we used a Postgres database along with a Sinatra microservice. The Sinatra microservice consumed the New York Times API, formatted the obituary data, and then exposed all that data to our Rails app. Within our Rails app, we used both Google and Facebook OAuth, along with SendGrid for emails, and we used Bootstrap to help us style the front end. Most of our communication and workflow occurred on GitHub, and we used Travis CI for continuous integration and deployment to Heroku. So here's a look at some of our main challenges we face, the first one being remote collaboration. So as I mentioned before, GitHub was our primary source of communication. We had a really organized project board so that we all knew what each other were working on, and we had well-labeled issues that we knew what still needed to be completed. The next challenge was the New York Times API rate limits. This was tough because as our test suite started to grow, we started to hit the rate limit of 10 per minute quite frequently. So we were able to work around this by setting up WebMock and VCR in order to save some of those responses. And then finally, the front end was something that was tough for us because all 4 of us are backend students. So we were a little worried about making a presentable front end, but we all put in a lot of time and effort to learn how to make a professional looking front end, and I think we're all really happy with the way it turned out.
So as Jack mentioned, we had some challenges, but luckily we also had some great successes. One of those being our microservice. Although we had consumed APIs before, this was the first time any of us had built a microservice in Sinatra, and it ended up being really successful. Another one is our email service. Users can send out obituaries through email. As Jack mentioned, we're all back-end developers, so the front end was a little intimidating, but we were able to learn some JavaScript and get that working to tab between our New York Times and our community obituary pages. Also, authorization. Users can authorize themselves through Google or Facebook, and originally we were only planning on having one, and in the end we were able to do both. And also our search pages are cached for optimization. For future iterations, we'd like to add an editor's choice page that can feature special and interesting obituaries. We'd like to be able to tag obituaries by category and search them by that category. We'd like to have a section for users to add details for events like memorials and funerals. And also we'd like to be able to link multiple obituaries if they've been written by our users for the same person.
I'd like to bring your attention to our extensive README located on our GitHub repo. As you can see, we put a lot of time into explaining different aspects of the project and reflecting on our experiences and our success and our challenges.
Thank you for listening to our presentation. If you have any questions or want to reach out to one of us, we can be contacted on our GitHub, our LinkedIn, or email.